Time for a self-portrait. A portrait is probably the ultimate challenge in drawing because most of us have the ability to recognize faces. Tiny little changes and movements of anything in the face are going to be very, very noticeable, much more so than with any other kind of subject matter, which is why with portraits you have to be a lot more careful and a lot more precise. The best way to start a self-portrait is just like any other drawing. Start with your initial gesture. This is between 15 seconds to a minute. And the most obvious shape that you're going to put down is a large oval. One thing that students often find surprising is that the eyes are located halfway up between the chin and the top of the head. So it may seem like the eyes should be higher, but they're really just halfway. And so you can put a guiding line there showing where the pupils are going to be. And then you can put down a guiding line for the nose. And the nostrils are going to be located about halfway between the eyes and the chin. And then the lips are about halfway from the nose to the chin. So you're taking that oval and breaking it down into half 3 times. So that's just the initial gesture drawing. After that, I don't recommend drawing the individual features, but looking for the values instead. If you're doing this in color, then you should be looking for color as well. So one of the biggest mistakes I see in drawing faces is getting stuck in one little area and working on that for a long time. It's important to keep moving across the entire face and just adding a little bit here and there until you have everything down in a kind of cohesive structure. If you work on one eye and then move into another area and work on another eye, there's going to be something off about the drawing. They're going to be slightly, this could be a millimeter. They're going to be slightly off and feel imbalanced. Try to find the form of the face. So eye sockets, cheekbones, things like that. Instead of looking at the eyes, nose, and mouth as these kind of individual things that get tacked onto a face, the face has a certain structure, and when the light hits it, you can see where those protrusions are, which is much more important than getting those features right away. I recommend using measuring, organizational lines, angles, all that stuff we covered to find the exact locations of these things. So one side of the face has a much darker value, and I'm adding that in. I'm going to blend it later with a stump, but for now, I'm trying to really get a good sense of where all the values are in the drawing. I'm adjusting things as I go, so as I add more and more detail, I'm trying to find smaller areas where I can move things and adjust them and get them right. Unlike a still life, with a face, this is going to make a huge change, just to move something even a tiny bit. The blending is going to be relatively important here, so some areas have hard shadows, some areas have softer shadows. It's important to maintain areas that are going to have a very clean edge, like between the hair and the cheek. I haven't made a drawing of myself in about 20 years, so this feels really strange. And many students actually dread self-portraits because you have to stare at yourself and look at every tiny little detail. What's funny about self-portraits that are not done from a photograph, that are done from a mirror, is they often look really angry because the concentration needed to make them creates this expression on one's face.